Good afternoon to all the students. Good morning, I think.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good
In the
morning, sir.
last class, we have gone through some of the important concepts related to copy constructor. So we know that a copy constructor is used to copy the contents of one object of one class to the another object of the same class. This is what the purpose of copy constructor is. And we have gone through some of the important points regarding the copy constructor, that a copy constructor can be defined by the user or it can be provided by the compiler. So if the copy constructor is not defined by the user, then the compiler will automatically provide it, which we are calling it as default copy constructor. And one more important point is we have gone through the differences between the shallow copy and deep copy. Shallow copy is a concept which is followed in case of default copy constructor, whereas the deep copy is followed when we have the concept of user defined copy constructor. So the disadvantage of the shallow constructor is that whenever, and one more important point, when do we go for the copy constructors, user defined copy constructors? When we have the data members as the pointers, or whenever we have the memory allocation done by making use of dynamic memory allocation, then we will go for the concept of user defined copy constructor. So when we have pointers and dynamic memory allocation in classes, and if we forget to give the user defined copy constructor, then the compiler will automatically provide us with the default copy constructor, and that is going to follow the concept of shallow copy, where the pointers of the two objects will share the same value. So when we modify the value regarding one particular object, it is going to modify the other object also, which is not expected, right? So this should not happen. So for this purpose, they have suggested one more important concept. That means user has to define his own copy constructor. That's the concept of user defined copy constructor, where the user has to copy each and individual value from one object to another object. Okay. So in deep copy, and the user defined copy constructor follows the deep copy concept, where the pointers of the new object will have the different address from the pointers of the original object, right? So this is the difference between a shallow copy and a deep copy. So in shallow copy, the pointers share a common address, whereas in deep copy, the pointers will have different addresses. So when you change the values of these pointers in one object, it is not reflected onto the pointers of the other object, right? So this property is very much needed when we go for the concept of pointers. So the user defined copy constructor is very important, right? So after this, let us have some more important discussions regarding this copy constructor. Can you see the screen here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now tell me, what is this particular statement doing here? First statement. Look at the example. My class T1 comma T2. What is this statement? Yeah, please respond. Anybody? What is this statement doing here?
Copy constructor, sir.
No. Assume that my class is the name of the class.
Class, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my class is the class name. So what is this statement doing here? My class space T1 comma T2.
Declaring objects, sir.
Super, right? It is creating the objects T1 and T2, nothing more than that. What about the second statement? my class T3 is equal to T1. What is it doing right now?
Calling the constructor by invoking T3.
Yeah, it is invoking, it is creating an object T3 and it is also invoking the copy constructor. Right. I am informing or I am telling the compiler to create an object T3 and also invoke the copy constructor, and by that I am going to copy this T1 values into T3. This is what this statement is doing. Right. What is this statement doing? T2 is equal to T1. Right.
Assigning,
So the assignment, super, right? So the difference between these two statements is very, very important, right? So here we have in the second statement, let us take this as set 2 and this is 3. So the difference between the 2 and 3 is very important. In the second statement, we are going to invoke a copy constructor and we are also creating a new object. Is it right or not? So this statement says the compiler that you please create an object T3 of my class and you please invoke the copy constructor and copy the contents of T1 to T3. This is the meaning of the second statement. And what about the third statement? It is just assigning. We are using an assignment operator. This is very important, right? We are using an assignment operator, and this particular statement says that the already initialized object, right? This one, the already initialized object T2 is assigned a new value from already existing another object. Right here, T2 and T3 are already existing. Listen carefully the difference between this assignment operator and copy constructor. So it is using the third statement is using an assignment operator where we have T2 is equal to T1 and T2 and T1 are T2 and T1 are already initialized. Is it right or not? They have been initialized somewhere else in the program. And now I am going to make some modifications in T2 with respect to T1. Right. But what about this T3 is equal to T1 along with the class name? Here the T3 does not exist. Only T1 is existing, and I am going to create a new object T3 and then I am going to initialize it with T1. But in the third case, in the third statement, both T1 and T2 exist, but I am going to make some modifications in the T2 object with respect to the T1 object. That is the difference. Is it clear? Is it clear? Right. So in the copy constructor, in the second statement, copy constructor is called when a new object is created. Here you are going to create a new object which is nothing but T3. Copy constructor is called when a new object is created from an existing object. What is this existing object? Which is nothing but T1 and as a copy of the existing object. So we are creating a new object T3 which is with respect to the existing object T1. But while coming to the third statement, assignment operator is called, this one is equal to is called when an already initialized object is assigned. So T2 is already initialized. It is already existing. We are not creating a new object. So T2 is already existing and we are trying to assign a new value from another existing object. So in this case, simple point we have to remember is the second statement, there exists one new object and there exists one existing object. We are going to create a new object with respect to existing object. And in the third case, both of them are existing objects only. Both are existing objects only. But we are trying to copy the contents of one existing object into another existing object. This is the difference you have to remember, right? So you should not use this one. It depends on the program which you are going to deal, right? So it depends on program and you have to use either this statement or this statement based upon your logic. Is it clear up to this point?
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So this I will tell you, and one of the assignment question which you are going to get in today's assignment is you have to differentiate between copy constructor and assignment operator. Right. One point I have told, copy constructor is used to create a new object, and whenever you want to assign, whenever you want to copy the values of existing object to the new object. But assignment operator is used to copy the values of one existing object. So one point I have made it clear, and this you can search it in the internet and then you can get the correct answer. Right. Now regarding some of the important points with respect to the copy constructors, why? What is the syntax of the copy constructor? Anybody please tell me? So it starts with class name, and one parameter should be there. It should be const, again the class name. What I should write here?
Ampersand.
Ampersand of world object. Super. Right. Right. And this is how I am going to do it. Now let us see why we should use const. Let us see why we should use this reference. Right. All these things we will discuss. Right. And the first point which I am going to discuss is why argument to a copy constructor must be passed as a reference. Right. Am I passing the reference or not? I am using a ampersand symbol. So I am passing the reference of the world object. Why it should be done? Why not you pass the value of the object? Why you are making use of the reference of the world object? Means the answer is the copy constructor itself is a function. Do you accept it or not? Is it a member function or not? Is copy constructor a member function of a class or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if we pass an argument by value in a copy constructor, so I'm not going to use this ampersand symbol. I don't want to pass the world object with reference. Right, I'm just passing the value. Right. In such case, what happens is a copy constructor will make a call to another, the same copy constructor. Again, that copy constructor will call the same copy constructor. This particular calling of the copy constructor will be repeated number of times, and this becomes a non-terminating chain of calls. Right. So to avoid that problem, the compiler does not allow parameters to be passed by value. So that is the reason why you just want to pass the world object with respect to reference. When you pass the object with respect to values, then the copy constructor will end up in a non-terminating chain of calls. To avoid this problem, the compiler is restricting us to give the world object with respect to reference as one of the argument to the copy constructor. Right. So coming to the second one, why do we use the const keyword? This one. Why do we use const keyword? What is the meaning of const? What is the meaning of const?
The value remains constant.
So the value remains constant, right? So when you give the argument as the constant argument, so unexpected modifications cannot be performed. So you are restricting that particular object from the unexpected modifications, right? Accidental modification. So for that purpose, I am passing the world object with respect to the reference of that object along with the constant. I am making that object as constant. So no more modifications are allowed. For that purpose, in order to freeze that object for further modifications, I am going to declare that variable as the constant variable, right? So the reason is, the question is why copy constructor argument should be const in C++. And the solution is, when we create our own copy constructor, we pass an object by reference and we generally pass it as the const reference. This is what we have done, right? And one reason for passing the const reference is we should use const in C++ wherever possible so that objects are not modified accidentally. So to avoid the modification of the objects accidentally, we should pass or we should declare the object, world object as the constant. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. And the last question. May I know where you have to declare the constructors, whatever constructor may be, whether it is a default constructor or parameterized constructor or copy constructor. Under what section or under what access specifier you have to specify these constructors? Is it public, private, or protected?
Public.
Sir.
Public, right? Super, right? Why? Because I have told you in the first class itself, it is a good practice that you always declare the data members under private section and you always declare the member functions under public section, right? So data members under private, member functions under public. Since the constructors are one of the type of the member functions, you should declare it as under the public section only. But the third question is, can we make the copy constructor private? So what happens if you make it private? Private means what, Amma? Private means you can access those particular functions within that class only. Right? So the answer for this, can we make copy constructor private, is yes. You can make a copy constructor as a private member or a private member function, right? But what happens when you make the copy constructor as private means objects become non-copyable. What is the purpose of copy constructor? The purpose of copy constructor is to copy the contents or the values of one object into another object. But if you make it private, you cannot access that copy constructor. So you are restricting the copy constructor, or you are restricting that object to be copied to the other object. So it becomes non-copyable. So when we make a copy constructor private in a class, objects of that class become non-copyable. So the purpose of copy constructor is not served here. The purpose of copy constructor is to copy the values into one object into another object. But when you make it private, you are unable to copy it. So you are making the copy constructor uncopyable or non-copyable. So we can make it. There is no doubt about it. You can make it the copy constructor as the private, but the purpose of the copy constructor is not served in this particular case. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So we are going
Clear,
into
sir.
we are going into the next topic, which is the characteristics of the constructor. We know all these characteristics. We just have to brush up all these things. As we know that the constructors should be declared under which section? Public, private, or protected?
Public section, sir.
Public, sir.
Public section.
And we know that the constructors does not have a return type. Is it right or not? In the first class itself, we have discussed it. Constructors will not have any return type, not even void also. Right? This is the second point. And we know that the purpose of the constructor is to initialize the data members with some default values. And we also know that the compiler will automatically invoke the constructors when the objects are created, right? So when we create the objects, the compiler automatically invokes the constructors. This point also we are clear, right? This is somewhat we don't know. That is, they cannot be inherited. We'll see what inheritance is in the next unit. And this is important point, that you remember that the constructors cannot be inherited. That means you cannot inherit the constructors from the base class to the child class or parent class to the child class. Right? So inheritance is not possible for constructor. Is it clear? But there is a point you have to note it here, right? The point is the derived class, base class and derived class. This is the base class, and the derived class is the class from which we have derived. This is base and this is derived. Right. You can access the constructors of the base class. Base class constructors can be accessed from the derived class. It is possible to access the constructors of the base class from the derived class, but it is not possible to inherit them. We'll see all these things when we go for the concept of inheritance. Right. But for time being, you remember that the constructors cannot be inherited. Right. And like other functions, they can have some default arguments also. Yes, it is possible to give some default arguments for the constructor. And you cannot refer to their address. This is very important. Constructors cannot be referred by their addresses. You cannot pass the constructors, or you cannot pass the constructors using addresses. This is not possible with respect to constructors. And constructors cannot be virtual. We'll see this virtuality concept in the next unit, right? So these are the few important characteristics of constructors. A few of them we are very well aware of them. That means that they should be declared under public section. They do not have any return type. They get automatically invoked. All these things we know, right? And a few things which we don't know are they cannot be inherited, even though the derived class can call the base class constructor. And some of the few points, some of the important points are, like other member functions, the constructors can also have the default arguments, and you cannot refer to the addresses of the constructors, and constructors cannot be virtual. Right. We'll see the virtuality concept later. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. That completes our complete concept of constructors. We have gone through the constructor definition, types of constructors, and we have gone through the programming examples. We have gone through the differences between the shallow copy and the deep copy with respect to the programs. And then we have seen some of the important points regarding the copy constructor, such as why the reference should be passed, why the argument should be given as the constant reference only. Can we make the copy constructor as private or not? All these things we have discussed. And then we have gone through the characteristics of constructor. And there is only one topic left over in this concept, that is destructors. Now tell me, what do you understand by the destructor concept? What do you understand by the term destructor? Constructor means it constructs something. As we told that it is a member function which is used to initialize the data members with some default values or some initial values. Right. Now tell me what happens in the destructor. Just tell me what do you understand by the term destructor?
Invoked automatically.
Okay, they are also invoked automatically. Very good. But what actually is a destructor? What is the term giving? What meaning is given by the term destructor? If you go for the constructors,
Class string is declared, sir.
what is that one? Please speak loudly.
Class string is declared, sir.
No. Not the. What constructors are doing? If I go to this, can you see the screen? Deep copy example.
Yes, sir.
So what is the copy constructor doing in this particular function demo here? So I am taking the private variable a, c, and p, and then I am assigning the d dot a to a and d dot b to b. And what is the statement here? P is equal to new int. Yesterday I have given the clear idea. What does the statement do? What does new used for?
Allocating dynamic memory.
So allocating memory for the variables, right? So in the constructors, we are constructing the object, or we are giving some initial values to the data members of the object or of the class. So A, B, and star P are three variables, are the data members that I have declared, and I am initializing it with some values. A is initialized to some value, B is initialized to some value. Similarly, since P is a pointer, I have to allocate the memory for it. So P is equal to new of int, star P is equal to star D dot P. This is what I am doing, right? I am allocating the space, memory space, and I am initializing the members of the class in the constructor. Right. So tell me what happens in destructors. Just have a wild guess. What happens in destructors?
It deletes the memory, sir.
Super, right. Destructor is used to destruct the object. That means whenever you go out of the scope of the program, the destructors will be automatically invoked by the compiler, and you write some code inside the destructor such that whatever memory you have allocated using the constructors, the dynamic memory allocation concept, right? Whatever memory you have allocated in the constructors, they will be deleted or deallocated in the destructors part, right? So simply destructors, almost constructors and destructors are similar, right? But the purpose of the constructor is exactly different from the purpose of the destructor. So constructors are used to initialize and allocate the memory space for the data members. So destructors, they do the reverse thing. That means destructors are used to deallocate the memory that is given in the constructor, right? Other than that, the remaining things almost remains the same. That means they are automatically invoked by the compiler. So if the user do not give any destructor, the compiler will automatically provide a destructor. All these things are similar only, right? But two important points that you should remember. Two important points that you should remember in the destructors is, first point, it also starts with a class name only. So the destructors also has the same name as that of the class name itself. They are also the member function. They also have the same name as that of the class name. But the class name should be preceded with a symbol called tilde. This we call it as tilde symbol. Can you see the screen? Tilde. Right. Can you see this symbol?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the class name of the destructor or the function name of the destructor is same as the class name, but it should be preceded with a tilde symbol. You will find this tilde symbol behind or below the escape key, right? Or beside
Sir?
the. Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, did you change the slide, sir?
No, I'm going with the characteristics of constructors only.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I just want to give an idea on what destructors are. So destructors are the member functions of a class. They are going to be invoked automatically by the compiler. And the third point is, whenever the user did not give any definition for the destructor, or the user defined destructor is not there, then the compiler is going to provide the destructor automatically. And coming to the syntax, as this is something similar to that of a constructor, the function name of the destructor also starts with the class name, but should be preceded with a symbol, a special symbol called tilde. TILDE, tilde symbol. Right. And one more important point, last point. How many types of constructors are there?
Two,
Two, sir.
two, sir.
Ma, how many types of constructors are
Four,
there?
sir.
Four.
Four, sir.
First one is do nothing constructor. Second one, default constructor. Third one, parameterized constructor. And fourth one, copy constructor. Right. So we have four types of constructors, but there are no categories in the destructors. There exists only one destructor. No other destructors are there. Right. Is it Is it clear up to this point? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear.
Let's go with the introduction of this destructor. Nothing to discuss about the destructor, right? So destructor is another special member function. We have discussed it. That is called by the compiler automatically when the scope of the object ends. So when we create an object, constructor is invoked. When the scope of the object is ending, then the destructor is called automatically by the compiler. So as the name implies, the destructors are used to destroy the objects that have been created by the constructor within the C++ program. That is what I have discussed. Right? Constructors are used to construct the object. Constructing the object is nothing but you give some initial values to the data members, and similarly you allocate the memory by using the new operator. So destructors perform the reverse operation. That means they destroy the object. So they deallocate the memory that is allocated dynamically in the case of constructor. So whatever you construct in the constructor, that is destroyed by the destructor. That's it. So destructor names are same as that of the class name, but they are preceded with a tilde symbol. This is very important. And it is a good practice to declare the destructor after the end of using constructor. So once you write a constructor code, it is better that you always write or define the destructor also. Right? It is a good practice, programming practice. So the destructor neither takes an argument nor returns any value. This is another important point. And the compiler implicitly invokes upon the exit from the program. So the destructor is automatically or implicitly invoked when we exit from the program. And what is the purpose of destructor? As I told that it destructs the object. Destructing means it will deallocate the storage, or it will deallocate the memory. That is nothing but cleaning up of storage that is no longer accessible. So it will just clean up the storage point. Right. So here is the basic declaration procedure for a destructor. As I told that it also starts with a class name, and the class name should be preceded with tilde symbol. And in this point we have discussed that it does not accept any arguments, and it does not have any return type also. So no return type, no argument. And you should write some code regarding this one, right? Or you can leave it like this also, blank also you can give. But if you have allocated the memory in the constructor using new, it is mandatory that you should use some statements to delete the memory by using the delete operator. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
The last slide we have on this destructors.
Yes, sir.
Coming to the characteristics of destructors, the destructors have the same name as that of the class, prefixed by the tilde symbol. We know this point. The destructors cannot have arguments. Yes, we know. It has no return type. Yes. And destructors cannot be overloaded. Right. We will see what this overloading and inheritance in the next unit. Right. So there can be only one destructor in a class. There can be only one destructor in a class. Okay, I'll ask you this question when overloading is completed. Can constructors be overloaded? Destructors cannot be overloaded. This is a statement that is there given. My question is, can constructors be overloaded? Yes or no? Third option, don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, constructors can be overloaded. Right. We'll see all these things. Don't worry. Right. So in the absence of user-defined destructor, as I told that it is automatically generated by the compiler. This also we know. And the destructor is executed automatically when the control reaches the end of class scope to destroy the object. This also we know. And the important point is they cannot be inherited. Destructors cannot be inherited. Now tell me, can constructors be inherited?
No, sir.
No, right. So constructors cannot be inherited as well as destructors cannot be inherited. But coming to the concept of overloading, constructors can be overloaded. Right. They can have multiple
Yes, sir.
implements, but destructors cannot be overloaded. So these are the very important points. You should keep it in mind. And this is the end of today's session. We have done with the constructors and the destructors. This completes the second unit of your syllabus. Right. So thank you one and all. And this is end of today's session.
Thank you, sir.